right, we are back on the Connected Design podcast and excited for a really fun and, I try to avoid newsworthy conversations because, I like podcasts to be evergreen. But this is, it should be evergreen for a while because this is kind of the new future for what's to come with Lightapalooza and the AVIXA team. So I appreciate Mr. Tom Doherty, the Director of New Technology Initiatives at HTSA, and Ms. Jenn Heinold, the Senior Vice President of Expositions for the Americas for AVIXA. Both of you taking the time out of insanely busy schedules. Tom, I know as we're talking right now, like you might as well be at your show because it's almost running for the HTSA Spring Conference. And then Jen, InfoComm right around the corner. So I appreciate you both taking the time and being available to chat about some, again, really exciting things that you guys have going forward here that we're about to dive into. So thank you.
Happy to be
here.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you.
You bet. Well, first of all, like I said, congrats to you both. I think it's, for anyone that hasn't heard, Lightapalooza announced that it was acquired by AVIXA and will be integrated into InfoComm starting next year. So lots to obviously unpack and dive into there. But Jen, I wanted to start with you and just pose the question, what excites you about this opportunity? Just that news, that headline right off the bat. I mean, kind of the first things that come to mind and, what you think when you think about InfoComm and AVIXA and Lightapalooza.
Yeah, well, Rob, I think it's worth going back to our origin story for Tom and I. We were actually introduced by a shared exhibitor between the two shows. And they said, I just think you should meet Tom. And we met in November of 2025. So this was not an overnight thing. It was a longer conversation. I actually got to attend Lightapalooza this year. And that really solidified the importance of the event. And what I was most impressed with at Lightapalooza, beyond the beautiful exhibit booths, was the audience, right? These are custom integrators who are smart, who are savvy, who recognize that lighting is a new service that they want to provide and that they will grow their business through this service line. And I was so impressed with the caliber of people in the room. And that only made me more excited to bring it into InfoComm and host those two events together. It's important to note that they will be standalone events, but they'll be co-located in the Orange County Convention Center, and the attendees will be able to network and connect with each other.
No, that's awesome. And that actually gets to some questions later on. I look forward to diving in deeper to that. But first, I know as a journalist, never unveil your sources is the important thing here. But whoever it was that decided to make that introduction between you two, anyone that gets to meet Tom, I know is better for it. but I guess credit goes to whoever your source was that decided to make that introduction.
Yeah, I joke with Tom. I said we were put together like a 90s boy band, really. So
that's awesome.
Smashed up and it just worked from there. So
no, that's and a little bit about you too, to introduce you to our audience. Relatively new, am I right, with AVIXA within the last couple of years? Yeah,
I joined in December of 2024, and I'm over the Americas. I run InfoComm in the US with my team, as well as InfoComm America Latina, which we launched last year in Mexico City. I have dedicated my entire career to trade shows. I ran a large satellite technology show, have run events in other markets, but I have just fallen in love with this community. I mean, it's hard not to love AV and just how it enhances our everyday life, both in our home and all the experiences that we are able to have because of it outside of our home. So it's been a really warm and welcoming experience, and I just see so much potential for InfoComm and now Lightapalooza. It's been exciting.
No, that's awesome. Tom, kind of turning the direction to you. To me, the first word that comes to mind, and I don't, without putting words in your mouth, bittersweet, right? This is cool because this is a show that, it's your baby, man. like your idea, kind of born out of, everything that you saw for this category. But I want to get, again, I said I wasn't gonna, I put the word in your mouth, but I want to give you the chance to, talk about it. What comes to mind when you think about the news that's been announced this week?
I'm thrilled. I mean, I don't know that it's bittersweet. I guess it could be, but I remain involved in it forward. So I'm not being kicked to the curb, and it's not like, hey, thank you, see you later. And I don't want to give like if okay, it's my baby, it's my child. You can get excited when your child, marry somebody and you have a new family and you're really happy about it and you're not bittersweet. I'm not bittersweet. I'm really excited about it and just thrilled with Lightapalooza and what we created being taken so seriously. I mean, InfoComm, AVIXA, global organization, it just, puts a stamp on the credibility of what was built, and not bittersweet at all. Just like thrilled on what we'll now be able to bring in terms of value and performance to the exhibitor community, the rep community that's driven awareness of this event to integrators throughout the U.S. and, most importantly, the integrators that have been benefiting from that conference in this new continuing to evolve category.
I'm glad you picked up the "it's your baby" sort of metaphor, because that might make the most sense, right? It is, you kind of watched it grow up and it's found a new home, but still part of your family. So that's a unique way to look at it for sure, and I think that makes a lot more sense. You are the smart one between the two, you and I. So I appreciate that. But talk about the fast growth that it's had, because truthfully, if we want to talk about it being a baby, it still kind of is. It's like in its toddler stage, right? Only a couple years old as a show. So speak to kind of, the fast-paced growth that it's had, and kind of what do you attribute that to?
Well, I met you 9 years ago.
Yeah, here we go.
We were at the first
Yep.
conference. I had joined HTSA and was 30 days into that role. And at the time, people were like, well, why is Tom Doherty joining HTSA? And we kind of revealed it at that conference, because I joined it at the CEDIA conference a month earlier.
Yep.
Our spring conference was in Chicago. And we really didn't say what my role was going to be during CEDIA. So at our conference, well, Tom's here to help our members start selling lighting fixtures and providing lighting design services. And the reaction at the time was like, what? And
Yeah.
But over the couple of years, it became more and more clear that there's a reason to be integrators be doing this, and the primary kind of effort was education focused, and by not to. I can talk forever, so I won't here. Forming Lightapalooza in 2022 was pretty confident that there would be demand, and most of it was focused just on our own members and being able to aggregate a bunch of education over a couple days just dedicated to lighting and bringing the leading manufacturers together. I knew that there was a recipe that would be well received. And my board had the vision to allow me to have non-HTSA integrators attend and allow also non-HTSA lighting vendor partners to participate. And it was a hit. And what was gratifying was reaching out to the other groups, ProSource particularly, embraced. And so our second year, we kind of because it was then known, you don't have to be an HTSA member to attend. That was the biggest jump, just that awareness. So we tripled attendance for that first year. And so, back to your question, what do you attribute it all to? I think that was your question. We are still very early. And every year, every month that goes by, more and more integrators, through the efforts of the manufacturers and the reps, bringing this awareness, you need to be in this game, and you should start by attending Lightapalooza, because there is a couple-day conference that has the most concentration of education that you can get anywhere. And in fact, it even extends throughout the whole lighting industry. Lightapalooza has been delivering for the last couple of years the most education on lighting anywhere in the world by any organization. Over 10,000 hours are consumed in 2.5 days by integrators and reps and some manufacturers that sit in these courses, some 6,000 plus seats. So, and the funny thing is, or I don't know if it's funny, but we are still so early in this adoption rate.
Right.
We are like, I don't know, 5%. I mean, there's so much runway.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I attribute it to. And
that's awesome.
And that's, to get to your next question, but for a second, is that what's exciting about AVIXA is the infrastructure and the additional investment that they can make to further, make this that much more valuable and that much more aware.
Yeah,
they can realize the growth potential that we just couldn't continue to do by ourselves.
No,
and that's what I saw in the future.
That's awesome. And Jenn, I know you talked about this a little bit, in your previous answer, but being able to attend Lightapalooza in its current state, current form, was there anything in particular that kind of stood out to you about what Tom and the team there have built? And I know that the show in general, every aspect of it is kind of unique and brings its own thing to the table. But was there any not that it needed something to close the deal for you, but like something that really stood out about it and made it just different in your opinion?
Yeah, I think, well, as I said, I've spent my whole career in events, and what Tom and HTSA has done in the 4-year time since launching Lightapalooza is super impressive. I love his entrepreneurial spirit. I love that it had year-over-year growth and progression. And when I went to the event, what I saw was a genuine community, right? And that is so hard to cultivate and build. And I saw that. I saw the business being done on the show floor, right? This was not a show that you went to because it was a reunion of old friends. It was a show that you go to grow your business. And that was really impressive. I love the purpose of it, the amount of education. There were so many things that just were solidified seeing the show in person.
Oh, that's awesome. And I want to circle back to that in a minute. But before that, I want to kind of give you both a chance. You also mentioned, obviously, that the continued collaboration. You are not kicking Tom to the curb. So I talk about what's that going to look like moving forward. How will you be involved, or is it kind of like advisory, or just what does that look like moving forward?
Yeah, Tom will support the transition of Lightapalooza into InfoComm. He'll continue to support the educational program as well as the manufacturer relationships, which are really important to us. We recognized from day one what Tom and HTSA had built, and we wanted both involved. So they will be in the future of Lightapalooza. I don't want to lose that magic that Tom has brought to the table, and I really respect that. We will be building, a team as well to help support this event, as Tom said, and put more resources behind it. But we don't want to lose the magic of what's been built thus far. And I think we'll be able to have a successful transition to host Lightapalooza with InfoComm.
No, that's awesome. And Tom, for you, I know this was a big part of kind of what you have done and, helped build over the last couple of years. So I don't know if there's anything coming up, announcements as you got a show coming up ahead of you this week, but, questions as you're preparing for members, does it change sort of what you're doing at HTSA at all right now? Or it frees up, I imagine, a lot of time to focus on some other cool things for you.
Well, what it frees up is, I'm in Palm Springs market, and there's 100 golf courses within a few miles of my house. And I've lived here. I moved here in 2022. So the majority of the Lightapaloozas means that I played almost no golf because all my weekends and evenings, because I have a full-time job with HTSA, and we have to continue to, I have to continue to deliver for our members, our conferences, the day-to-day. And I was fitting in all the things to deliver that show. So in many ways, previously, maybe you'll like this analogy, I was the script writer and the best boy grip and the cameraman and the director and the actor and the producer. And so now I think maybe I'll have this kind of role of executive producer, as one of 5 or 6 executive producers. I will no longer have all the operational lift. AVIXA is taking that, but I will still, be, that consultant, that executive producer, if you will. So I'll still be utilizing a fair amount of my weekends and evenings to do that, but without anywhere close to the pressure and responsibility of having to deliver and always make the thing better. There's a lot of pressure doing that, recruiting all the presenters, figuring out the schedule, laying out the show floor, selling the booths, selling the sponsorship, figuring out what the budgets are, securing the venues, everything. I know, I'm so thrilled that Jenn and her team.
Jenn, all that shifts over to you. No.
I have experience.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have experience, right? But I'm an amateur compared to these guys. These guys, AVIXA, Jenn, this is their career. They're experts at this stuff. And so that's why it's not bittersweet. This thing can just get, packaged even better.
Yeah.
And yet they still see the value in, I'm going to know where the industry's going. I know what the integrators care about. I know what the manufacturers care about. I know what the reps care about. I know the educational trends. So I'm going to be able to give them excellent insight, thoughts, etc. Yeah. But HTSA no longer has the financial risk. HTSA was on the hook for whether this thing went well or not. Was never concerned about my reputation, but, I guess I had a reputational risk to deliver a dud. And so I have a good track record on those 5 conferences. And now we'll be able to leverage and amplify, the world-class company, AVIXA, nonprofit 501(c), delivering value to our channel.
No, that's awesome, and certainly a great. He positioned it in a way that all that pressure moves over to the AVIXA. But I appreciate too. You saying that's what you guys are great at, Jenn, right? That's what, you've got a team there that can support this. It's not an individual. And Tom, I know there's other individuals behind you as well at HTSA that, and you've had some great partners along the way too, that helps, create the reputation for the show that it's built, right? To the point where it is a valuable asset that, the AVIXA team is willing to take on and, build upon. So, it certainly, the support, it'll have the support that it needs to continue to grow. And that's, I think, to everyone, the exciting thing kind of moving forward, right? So really great opportunities there for sure.
Yeah, well, when I said earlier, it just kind of made sense after we met and started talking through how we could really leverage each other's strengths. And, AVIXA is a community-first organization, and meeting the Lightapalooza and HTSA community just really solidified how deserving they are of, this stage and this opportunity for all of us. So we're thrilled to be able to work together.
Well, Jenn, I know you mentioned earlier too, the show will co-locate, so it still exists sort of separately. I wanted to, follow up on that because I think to a lot of people, what has made Lightapalooza such a success is that intimate nature, right? It's the show that you can go and focus on the lighting category and the lighting education and the vendors that are there. So to that point, what will it? I know it's very early stages, obviously, right? But as you think to what Lightapalooza can look like being co-located with InfoComm, how does it differ? How will that experience differ for attendees?
Yeah, for me, it's really, one badge and two big shows, right? And 1 week. So you're really actually having a much more efficient experience. So we will have Lightapalooza in its own home in the Orange County Convention Center right next door to InfoComm, and they'll be able to walk both show floors and, have full access to all the exhibitors and manufacturers there. So we don't want to put up physical walls, if you will, but we do want to create that community feel for Lightapalooza. And quite frankly, we do that now at InfoComm. When you think about, we service, unified communications and collaboration, right? In that corporate market, we service retail, we service house of worship, we service live events. So we have a lot of mini communities already built at InfoComm. And so we're really good at making, events within events, right? So helping people find birds of a feather to network with, and creating very specific and relevant content for those sub community groups within InfoComm.
That's awesome. I may have to play that. Just you said it. I may have to play Billie Eilish underneath me now. Just that you mentioned birds of a feather. Yeah. But no, I love that because it actually leads to kind of another question I had, and that was, you mentioned a lot of those communities that InfoComm has serviced, and I think traditionally people think of it, they think of commercial, the commercial side of the business. This is like certainly a Lightapalooza, the community there, very much residential focused for the most part. So talk about that. Obviously, it can exist within, like you mentioned, a show within a show and community within kind of the larger community. So, I mean, is this like an opportunity for the InfoComm event to kind of lean a little bit more residential?
Yeah, so absolutely, Lightapalooza enables us to serve the residential market, and I think there's a lot to be learned between commercial and residential, and we see those residential integrators also doing smaller commercial projects, right? And being exposed to both when it is important, I think. So we're happy to bring everyone together under one roof.
Oh, that's awesome. Go ahead, Tom. Yeah, absolutely.
Point here. So the integrators that attend Lightapalooza are the most progressive in the channel. So the most advanced, the furthest along, so on and so forth. And those are the same integrators within our group and the other groups that do dabble in some commercial. And in this day, people are looking for efficiency. And so I believe that the people that have attended Lightapalooza will look on this favorably in that, and I can assure them, and I've had questions by manufacturers that have reached out, hey, congratulations, Tom, is it going to stay the same? Is it going to lose this or that? And I can assure that it'll just be further elevated and all the qualities that are there are not going to be diluted. But this makes it that much more compelling. If they know they can come to Lightapalooza for the education and all the things that it delivered, and then while they're there in the same airspace, walk over and talk to the vendors that they also have relationships with, or take other AVIXA education, this just becomes that much more of a valuable investment when they have to pack their suitcase and when they have to get on an airplane. And so I think that this in and of itself is where there's some additional value. And then with the AVIXA and their marketing and what they're going to be able to do, I think in many ways, Lightapalooza is just continue to remain a semi-secret. I mean, the ones that have attended it are like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I came and I'm coming next year. But there's a lot of people that haven't tasted it yet. And I think that this will just continue to contribute to greater awareness and greater opportunity. So that's where I see, some additional value.
I appreciate that point of view for sure. And, without, bringing up other names and shows, like I've seen that exact sort of strategy and attempt. Like, to me, that there's so much value in that, right? In bringing multiple communities together under a roof and allowing them to, the attendees that are there to experience, kind of what they're traditionally used to, but also, open themselves up to meeting those, like-minded individuals that are just in parallel communities that touch one another, right? And all like work towards the same goal, or the same, again, efficiencies that you talk about in wanting to develop those relationships. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it really does, to boil it down. So it's been exciting to me to just not even just hear the announcement and kind of, what you guys are already planning on, but then think about just the possibilities for the show itself, but then the community within it, right? Like the communities within it. So a really awesome opportunity, and one, again, that I'm just excited to see. I have to ask, we're not going to see anything necessarily this year, right? Like, obviously, the announcements out there, shows are too close, I imagine, but like, is there any, chance to see some early messaging or collaboration, at InfoComm this year related to Lightapalooza?
We'll be, talking about what we plan to do in 2027 at a high level, but no, we're really ready to make a big impact in 27, and we're starting the planning now so that we can make a big impact in 2027.
No, that's awesome for sure, and looking forward to it. And I'll be there, so I look forward to seeing sort of what's going on, and having those conversations. So I have to imagine just a lot of excitement in the channel, amongst the community. So again, knowing how busy everything is for you all right now, and Tom, I know you're basically coming up on a flight that I got to let you go catch. So I appreciate you both, having the availability and the opportunity to chat with you. So this was a lot of fun, and again, I look forward to doing more of this in the future, and seeing where the show goes.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.